forward, I promise to be part of the solution, and end violence against women.
Today's man was yesterday's young man, and today's young man is going to be tomorrow's man. In a society where the issue of domestic violence is perceived to be just a women's issue, we have to see that as more than that. That is a man's issue. It impacts men just as it does women. Many of us lose our families based on the things that we do in our relationships. We lose our children based on the things we do in our relationships, and I think it's time we take a stand. And those of us in particular who want to call ourselves the good guys and say to the small sector of men, because only a small portion of the men in our community who are being abusive toward women, and that we take a stand and say to them, no more. You know, there's standards by which men are going to live in these communities, and being violent or abusive toward women is not the way to act as a man.
I am the executive director of Women's Shelter Compañeras. We are a domestic violence organization located in Holyoke. And we are sponsoring this basketball tournament at Holyoke High School. And the purpose of the event is to get young men here to play basketball, but we also brought in a speaker, Juan Ramos. He's here from Brooklyn. He's speaking on behalf of an organization, a worldwide organization, called A Call to Men, whose mission is to talk about violence against women.
Early on in my life, I used to see my stepfather abuse my mother. When I would go home, I tried to get away from it, and I couldn't, because no matter what I did to get away from it, I would come home and see the effects. When I was a little kid, couldn't do anything about it. So when I got a little older, I was able to take care of myself. Instead of going home, what I did was I hit the street. But I hit the street in a different way. I joined a gang. And when I joined that gang, that became my family, that became my outlet, that became the way that I got away from that. But that also became the way that I was able to take the violence that I learned at home and only turn it into the violence that I would use on the street. And that wasn't always good for me. And it wasn't until some men in my community got involved in my life and decided to mentor me, a lot like the coaches that you have in your life.
It's very important that people who coach and mentor have an understanding of domestic violence, violence against women, and dating violence, so that we can better be equipped to have the conversations with the youth that we try to help, right? But we can't have that conversation unless we at least acknowledge that there's a problem, number one, and two, be prepared to encourage the young men that we're working with, and sometimes the young girls that we're working with, to really take responsibility over the issue and start making some changes.
1 in 4 women will experience violence in their lifetime. 1 in 5 girls between the ages of 11 and 19 will experience violence in a dating relationship. So this pledge to respect women and not commit violence against women taken by young men and boys, that's why this is so important.
The main message today is to really bring an awareness and a focus that here in the Holyoke community you have an institution like a women's shelter, Compañeras, that's there, ready, willing, and able to assist families who are impacted by the issue of domestic violence, dating violence, and that it's really a resource for the entire family. I think one of the things that we need to see today is that while many believe that it's just a women's shelter and something that helps women and children, that they're really thinking out of the box about an entire community, because they're embracing young men today, they're embracing the men in their community around the athletics, and they know that it's an opportunity to have a conversation with men that will bring them into the fold, if you want to say so, for them to get involved more in the efforts to end domestic violence, because we know that with men involved, we can end it. Without men, we're only going to continue to create movements without any progress.
Good to see everybody today. We'll break it down. I will promote respect, dignity, and equality. I will speak out against attitudes and behaviors that contribute to sexual assault and domestic violence. I will remind myself and others that gender violence is a men's issue that affects all of us, regardless of our backgrounds. I will confront sexism, homophobia, racism, and other forms of oppression. I will find out how to help when I suspect that someone I know is a victim or offender of sexual assault or domestic violence. Nice. And here's the main pledge. From this day forward, I promise to be part of the solution and end violence against women. Thank you guys for making this pledge. This is real, and this is going to be